Listen, it is so freaking hot where I live. So, why did I make a cardi? Hey Stitches, it's your girl Kris. Welcome if you're new or welcome back to the channel if you are an OG. Thank you guys so much for clicking on today's video, which is a little bit strange since I am melting in a cardigan. Why have I made a cardigan? You guys, I have been having a moment with Pattern Emporium patterns. You might have caught my very first video featuring their pattern, the Be Mine blouse. If you did not, I'll drop the link in here. And then I shared a second video with you guys based on the Take the Chance dress. And I made not one, but two of those dresses. But you guys, I have a couple more of their patterns in my pattern stash and I am dying to make them up. So how did this even come to be? A couple months ago, as a matter of fact, not a couple months ago, it might have been in the month of May, I discovered Pattern Emporium patterns. I had been doing some research on size-inclusive pattern companies for my Big 5 versus indie pattern sewing companies video. Again, I'll drop the link to that one in here. And I came across Pattern Emporium and discovered that they are not only size-inclusive, but they have some amazing patterns, or at least they looked amazing in the line drawings. So your girl went ahead and bought 5 of their patterns even before trying out one. I guess a sensible thing would have been to buy one of their patterns, see how their pattern block sort of worked with my body, and then take it from there. But no, your girl decided not to be sensible, and as I said, I bought 5 of their patterns. So I have made up 1, the Be Mine blouse, 2, the Take the Chance dress, and today we're going to be talking about the Grab a Cuppa cardigan. Now, in this region, you guys, it is roasting. Not only is it roasting for the spring and summer seasons, it is hot pretty much all year around. But your girl does still have use for a cardigan. Now, where I work, we are fortunate enough to have air conditioner. I know for you guys, it probably sounds strange, but a lot of the homes here on the island are not fitted with AC. We use fresh breeze and have the assistance of fans. But in the office, we do have AC. And so it means it could get really, really cold in the office. And in my department, you guys, it is freezing. Currently, as I'm talking to you guys, I have 2 cardigans hung on the back of my office chair, but they both happen to be the Marlowe cardigan by True Bias. And to this point, that has been my go-to cardigan pattern. I love it. So when I saw the Grab a Cuppa cardigan, I figured to myself, let me give it a try and see how it competes with my True Bias Marlowe. I actually started making up this pattern. Was it the first one I started making? Or did I start it after the Be Mine blouse? The point is, I started it a while ago, but in true Kris fashion, I ran out of the appropriate rib knit in order to finish. The rib knit that I had bought and had in my stash, for some reason, I don't know what I was thinking, it was such a small amount, and at that time, it was only enough to get out the hemband of this cardigan. And so I had to go and source some more, order it, and wait for a year and a day for it to get to me here on the island. But it finally got here yesterday and I was on this cardigan like white on rice. Now, I am notoriously known for having works in progress and my whip pile is probably a little bigger than I would like, but I did not want this cardigan to get stuck in that pile for too long because then I would lose interest and it probably, in honesty, would not have gotten completed. So I'm really happy that I got my rib knit. I'm really happy that I was not currently in the middle of another exciting project. And so I was able to go back and devote a little bit of time to finishing this cardigan. So let's talk about the sizing of the cardigan. Now, Pattern Emporium, as I said, is very size inclusive. I don't remember the sizing structure out of my head, but if I can find the size chart, then I'll pop it here on screen. But I do know that I made a size 16 in this cardigan. I think my body measurements put me at an 18, but I chose this pattern based on my high bust measurement and decided to go with a straight 16. I had contemplating sizing down one to the 14 because this is such an oversized cardigan, but then I thought, Even if it turned out to be a little bit big, it was meant to be oversized anyway. It's going to be layered up in my office, probably over like blouses and shirts, couple dresses, that sort of thing. And so I figured, I'll just go ahead and stick with the size 16. Even though this is an oversized cardigan, I did make some pattern adjustments, you guys. I could not help myself, but they were very minimal in all honesty. So the first thing that I did, and I can hear you guys saying it to me back on the screen, was that I reduced a 1/4 inch in length between my shoulder line and my bust line, just because I do have forward rotated shoulders. Now, if you guys find that your blouses, your dresses, and so on sort of like hang back, like they fall back like this, and often feel like they're choking you if they're high neck, then you might be a good candidate for a forward rotated shoulder adjustment. Now, usually you would remove the required amount from the front and then add it to the back. In my case, I have found by trial and error that adding extra to the back isn't necessary for my body type. So all I do is I reduce the 1/4 inch in length between my shoulder and my bust line, and I have found that that has worked extremely well for me. Again, that is peculiar to me. It may not work the same way for you, but you can try it and then you can be your own judge. Now, in addition to doing my forward shoulder adjustment, I also did adjust the shoulder slope. Now, typically I do a 1/2 inch sloping shoulder adjustment. I discovered when I made my other 2 take the chance patterns that 3/8 of an inch was sufficient. And so I went ahead and did a 3/8 of an inch sloping shoulder adjustment on this cardigan. What else did I do? Oh, I did a 1/4 inch sway back adjustment because your girl does have a sway back, which is an exaggerated dip in the lower back, and it results in a lot of pooling at my center back. And so I did go ahead and do that adjustment. And finally, I lengthened my sleeve by an inch. But in hindsight, that was absolutely not necessary. My sleeves have ended up really, really long. I mean, not really, really long. But I do think that maybe I could have omitted adding that additional 1 inch. Now, in terms of the construction of this garment, it was really, really easy. I did a lot of the construction on my serger. I'm blessed to have a serger and I love it. Now, you could sew this pattern on your sewing machine if you do not have a serger. You're just going to go ahead and use a triple zigzag stitch, or you can use a stretch stitch, or in fact, you can probably get away with using a regular zigzag stitch and you can construct this cardigan. But as I said, since I do have it at my disposal, I decided to use my serger to construct this garment, and that made it very, very quick and very, very easy. The only delay was because your girl did not have enough of her fabric. In terms of the fit, now that it is done, I do think I probably could have gone down the size. I'm not too bothered by it, as I said previously, but if I were to make this pattern again, I would consider going down to a size 40. It probably didn't help that this fabric is very, very, very loose in terms of its weave. I picked it up from Joann during their closing down sales. I happened to have been in Fort Lauderdale. I was able to visit one of the branches, but you guys, it was very slim pickings by the time I made it to Joann. Not much to choose from, but I did see this one and I thought it was cute. And you guys already know how I feel about black and white, and it was gingham, so I was like, I may as well go ahead and grab myself some. Now, I did pick up 3 yards of this fabric and I do have quite a lot left. I think I probably used just over a yard of fabric, so I can probably make another cardigan, maybe for a friend or something, or maybe even for my daughter. We will see. I shall make no promises. Now, because this fabric is a gingham print fabric, you know your girl took some extra time in terms of the pattern layout. It really is jarring to me when gingham fabrics and striped fabrics do not sort of mirror from either side of a garment. Sometimes you might not be able to get it completely right, but I do think it's important to at least make the effort. And in this case, I absolutely nailed it. At least I think so. I was able to come up with mirror images on both sides of my center front, and so it's very, very pleasing to the eye right across my center front. When it came to the back, I also made sure that I lined up my fold line with one of the lines of the squares. I cut one side, then I flipped my pattern piece over and then cut the other side. I did not fold my fabric in half. and then attempt to butt my pattern piece up against the fold line. That was bound to have some skewing in the squares, and so it did take a little bit of extra time, but it was well worth the effort. Now at my side seams, I was also able to get a match right through my side seam, and because the squares are variegated in terms of the color, then it sort of ran from one color right into the next at my side seams. But again, at least we have a line going straight the way around the circumference of my pattern. So I'm super, super pleased with that. Now, so far as my sleeves were concerned, I was also able to cut mirror images on the sleeves. You can see that the black squares run straight down my forearm on both sides, but I was not able to get an impeccable match at the shoulder seam. Where's the shoulder seam? Right here. So at the sleeve seam and the shoulder seam. Now this pattern does have a dropped shoulder, and so it has a slight curve. And so my squares are off right here at my shoulder seam, but I don't think that's a place that the eye goes directly to, and so I'm fine with it. If it was down my center front, I probably would have been singing a different tune, but because of where it is, it doesn't really bother me. Now, in terms of rating this cardigan, I'm going to go ahead and give this one a 9.5 out of 10 because I really, really like it. I love that it's black and white. I love that I decided to use a solid black rib knit contrasted against the black, white, and gray squares. I love that it is pattern matched and that the pattern placement on my center front and my center back are pleasing to the eye. And I love that it was very, very easy to construct. I will tell you though, you guys, I did not look at the pattern instructions. I saw what the seam allowance was, I chose my size, and that was about it. So I can't tell you whether or not they're brilliant, but I think they probably are. The pattern instruction leaflet seems to be quite meaty, and so I assume that in all of that meat, there's going to be a lot of hand holding for those of you who absolutely need it. I don't need it. I have been sewing for quite a while. And even though I don't have tons of experience working with knits, I do have enough information under my belt that allowed me to construct this pattern without the use of the instructions. That being said, don't follow your girl. Read your instructions first so that you can be sure that you know what you're doing, what you need, and that you're choosing the correct sizing and the correct materials. Now, I am only taking off the half mark just because I do think I probably could have sized down to the 14 just for a neater fit, maybe around the neckline, and because I lengthened the sleeve, and in hindsight, I really, really didn't need it. So that is why I have taken off a half mark. Both of these things are very small potatoes, I suppose. But if I'm going to go ahead and rank myself, then I may as well weigh the good up against the bad. So my final rating is 9.5 out of 10. Now, on a side note, if you have never heard of Pattern Emporium patterns, they are an Australian brand, then please do go ahead and check them out. I am not affiliated with them in any way, but I do like the fact that they are very size inclusive. Their patterns are reasonably priced, I think, given the current posture in the sewing community. And I do think that they have some really well drafted patterns. And having made 3 of their patterns, but 4 different garments, I think I am now in a position to say I can completely recommend Pattern Emporium. I will keep sewing up a couple more of their patterns. As I said, I bought 5 of them. I can't promise that I'm going to get to any of the others right away. I do have some other projects in mind that I want to bang out, but I know that at some point I am going to go back and sew them up because they have been a really, really enjoyable sew. Now, I just thought of something else, you guys. The one thing that is missing from this pattern is pockets. Like, I find myself looking for some patch pockets along my center front. Now, I think that would be a very easy addition to this pattern. I do have enough material to go ahead and cut out some pockets and just top stitch them down to this pattern because I feel like it's crying out for some pockets, especially since I decided to make up the hip length version of this pattern. There is a cropped length and then there is something just beneath the waist, I think, but I had enough fabric to do the hip length, and so I thought, why not just go all in? And that I did. Right. That was a little bit all over the place, but I hope you guys have gotten the key information about this pattern. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to go ahead and give your girl a thumbs up. Go ahead and drop me some comments down below and let me know if you guys think I'm absolutely crazy to be sewing up a cardigan in this heat. Also, let me know in the comment section whether you have heard of Pattern Emporium patterns, whether you have sewn any of their patterns, whether you have your eyes on any of their patterns, whether I have convinced you with this make or any of the other Pattern Emporium makes to go ahead and give the company a try. Let us move the conversation from off the screen to down below in the comment section. But you guys, that is all I needed to share with you guys for today's video. I am going to take this cardigan off and sit under the fan because I am not at work and I am roasting. So until next time, stay calm, stay cool, stay safe, and absolutely keep sewing. Peace.